Alright, so what the heck is going on with Cyberpunk right now, and where is CDPR in all of this? Like, where's the announcements, where's the news updates on DLCs and upcoming content? I think that this has been the longest period of time that we've experienced in between updates without any single piece of new information. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there might be a small speck of light at the end of this tunnel, because at the end of the month of August is when the company gets its annual report for the first half of 2021. Something similar to this happened back in March, right? Yeah, as patch 1.2 was released, so hopefully update 1.3 is not that far off and that August to September release might still happen, so we're gonna check that in this video, and a ton of other stuff in the meantime that has happened, so let's jump right into it. Also, this is a big speculation on everybody's part, so yeah, take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean that the update will drop on this date, but it might be a good indication of when CDPR might update their content roadmap. So speculation, potential date for upcoming patch 1.3 might be indicated by the consolidated semi-annual report for the first half of 2021, which right now, if you check the main CD Projekt website, is scheduled for August 26th, so yeah, towards the end of this month. Now, something similar to this has happened back in March with the release of update 1.2. so patch 1.2 came out on the 29th of March, the day before CD Projekt Group strategy update took place. Now, if you didn't pay attention to what has happened back then, yeah, basically CD Projekt Red management team was talking about making key transformations and changes to the studio, and I quote, in the way it develops video games, which will ultimately enable it, starting in 2022, to work on multiple AAA games and expansions in parallel. The management board of CD Projekt has also announced further development of its brands and expansion of its expertise in the area of online gaming. So yeah, back then there were rumors about, CD Projekt Red still continuing work on that Cyberpunk 2077 online mode that since then kinda got scrapped for a little bit, so that the studio could concentrate on working on the base version of the game, improving its performance, stability, getting rid of the bugs, and maybe also adding some DLCs on top. Of course, it's gonna be really interesting to see what their semi-annual report for the first half of 2021 will look like, because that will actually drop on the 26th of August. Now, going into a bit of speculation here, there is indeed a good chance that this update will drop 1 or 2 days ahead of the report, just like how it happened back in March. And I can totally see the dates of 24th and 25th of August being like really good contenders. They are right there in the middle of the week, and right before, yeah, that Thursday 26th is when that group meeting is happening. So it could be that we might get that update at that date and then have the report, or at the very least we are getting the report, which in theory should also give us a glimpse of what CD Projekt Red has been doing behind the scenes, and also maybe an announcement regarding Cyberpunk, because I can't see them going on for much longer without talking about the current state of the game and their future plans for the remaining of 2021 and even more so coming 2022. But moving on, it definitely seems that this has been the longest period of wait time in between updates. We're almost 2 months since the previous patch 1.23 was released all the way back in June 17, so it's been a very long time since then. Also, they had that big leak happening with their full source code for several games. I imagine that also played a big role into this, but at the same time I think that they're preparing something bigger and bundling that all up into a big update, hopefully something that we will get news of at the end of this month. Now, at the same time, they can't wait for too much longer. I mean, their performance on the stock market has been pretty crazy over the last year, because they've been into a nosedive ever since December. Well, they had a few free falls like these last year when they had the second and the third delay in between August and December. They had a pretty big fall off, but then yeah, their performance on the stock market quickly rose in December and then took an even bigger nosedive once people got their hands on the game and reports came in with the game being in a really poor state and a far cry of what it was advertised as being, or at the very least compared to people's expectations. Now anyway, let's keep on going and let's also talk about DLC content. There's of course a lot of speculation that we can do and lots of directions in which CDPR CDPR could take the game into, but GameRant notes that it should definitely explore more of its Nomad life path. There's been plenty of speculation about which direction the Cyberpunk DLC will take V, but it would be worth it to make it about the Nomads, is what the article is noting right here. There's only 4 months left in 2021 and there hasn't been much word on when the upcoming free DLCs are launching for Cyberpunk 2077. The issue of the CD Projekt Red cyber attack earlier this year slowed down the development of updates to the game, but even so, the Polish-based studio hasn't given an updated timeline on when fans can expect new content. The DLC will hopefully bridge some gaps left by the game's main story and flesh out the world of Night City even further, but no one really knows what sort of story content will be included. While there are plenty of different directions that the studio could take in the upcoming DLC, it would be worth it to focus on one of Cyberpunk 2077's life paths, the Nomads. The Nomads live just outside of Night City in small groups that look out for one another and serve as one of the 3 starting life paths available for the players to choose from when starting the game. Although they got some screen time during the Cyberpunk's campaign, DLC featuring the Nomads might help bring new layers to the faction previously unseen in the base game. Now personally, and totally let me know down below in the comments if you also agree with my view, I would much rather like a DLC that focuses on all of the 3 life paths and not just one. Like, what instead of just getting a life path upgrade for Nomads, we get a full revamp of the starting experience, especially for that 6-month skip ahead montage that we had right after the introductory mission for each of the life paths. It would definitely make a lot more sense. I would definitely like to see a little bit more character build up in the beginning of the game rather than having a major point of the story being skipped as if it never existed or if you never had to care for it. So I would definitely like to experience those 6 months and building up with Jackie as a character, and also kind of like combine that with a Jackie DLC as well. It would make so much more sense than just like focusing moving forward with the Nomads or any other type of life path in the game. By the way, speaking of these life paths, we also have a recent kind of poll from CD Projekt Red. You know, when I saw this post, I honestly thought that there would be an update for the game, so I kind of got a bit bamboozled, but it still seems that people heavily favor street kids when it comes to choosing their preferred characters, and closely followed by the Nomads. Meanwhile, the corpos are definitely at the bottom of the list, but it is way more balanced than I initially anticipated, and I think that has to do with the fact that people usually play multiple playthroughs, so they might start with their favorite street kids and then jump into the other ones like the Nomads and then finally the corpos, because that's what I essentially did as well. But I started with the corpos and then started with the street kid, but left Nomad right there at the end. But yeah, at the same time, we have to see these updates happening. CD Projekt Red has to come in with these updates and at least give us a glimpse of what the future holds for the game. Also, on a final note, check out this really interesting article right here from Kotaku. Studio dunks on Cyberpunk 2077 while explaining their own open world game delay. This is about, of course, Pearl Abyss, the makers behind the Black Desert Online MMORPG, and the reasoning for why they aren't rushing with their upcoming single-player release called Crimson Desert. By the way, I've seen the footage last year when they kind of teased it. It looks so amazing, and I was kind of waiting for a Black Desert Online kind of combat, but in a single-player game. So honestly, I cannot wait to see what they're actually doing with the project. But in the meantime, we do have some interesting bits here over from Game Insight. Pearl Abyss Chief Financial Officer in a recent article discussed the game's delay when talking about the studio's financial report, so lowering the quality to meet the deadline, just like the recent Cyberpunk 2077, doesn't align with Pearl Abyss development goals. And furthermore, we are working hard to make Red Crimson, I think that's just a rough translation, with AAA game quality and depth. So yeah, it definitely sounds like a really big swing. It definitely has to hurt for CD Projekt Red to being constantly called out by other companies that are further delaying their projects and their games until they can actually release it in a proper state. Now, I wouldn't jump the gun yet if I were Pearl Abyss, because CD Projekt Red also delayed Cyberpunk multiple times. The reason wasn't because it was rushed out or if it was delayed, it's because of mismanagement and spending way too much time time and changing vision midway through. I think the development process was the one that was troublesome and not the actual release date. They had 8 years and enough time to actually develop the game, but they kept going back and forth and changed things along the way and never had a clear vision for the game. So I think that that is actually the big culprit behind the games not succeeding rather than their release dates. But you know, maybe it's a combination of both of these factors. This is it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.